Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Well, America's top general and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff says that he knows nothing of recovery programs or reverse engineering programs or alien bodies or anything related to what David Grush, the whistleblower, had testified to the House Oversight Committee recently. He knows nothing of this. I find it hard to believe, but that's what he says. And here's some new reporting from the Washington Times. I will leave the link so you can check out the entire article for yourself. Well, Army General Mark Milley, he's had a 4-year run as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff under Trump and Biden, and his tenure will be ending in October. And the Times thought they'd be a nice time to start asking him questions about what he knows about all this UFO business. And here's what the article says. It says, some UFO sightings by military personnel are difficult to explain, said General Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, but the nation's top general insists he has seen no evidence to back up public allegations that the Pentagon has recovered extraterrestrial beings or has engaged in decades of cover-ups to hide the truth from the American public. So there's either, I'm just going to stop there for a second. There's two possibilities here. He's either lying, right, which is possible, right? He could be lying, or actually, incredible as it may sound, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the top Army general we have in this country, the top general we have in this country right now, is not read in on this program, on these programs. That's, I guess that it's either A or B, and it could be B. It really could be. We'll talk about that later on. Anyway, continuing, it says here, in an exclusive interview with the Washington Times, General Milley acknowledged that some reports of what the government now calls unidentified aerial phenomena, let me just stop there, unidentified anomalous phenomena, anomalous, or UAP, lack easy explanations despite serious ongoing research inside the Pentagon and a growing belief that at least some of the craft could pose national security threats. He made the comments less than 2 weeks after former U.S. intelligence officer David Grush told Congress under oath that he is aware of a, quote, multi-decade UAP crash retrieval and reverse engineering program, and even suggested that the Pentagon has been secretly keeping extraterrestrial bodies in storage. Milley didn't address the credibility of Grush's testimony, but made clear he has seen no evidence backing up the extraordinary claims. And here's a quote. He says, the guy was under oath. I'm sure that he was trying to say whatever he thought was true. I'm not going to doubt his testimony or anything like that. I can tell you, though, that as the chairman, I have been briefed on several different occasions by the Pentagon's UAP office, and I have not seen anything that indicates to me about quote-unquote aliens or that there's some sort of cover-up program. I just haven't seen it. Okay, let's just stop there. Now he's saying he's been briefed on several different occasions by the Pentagon's UAP office. He's talking about Arrow, right? So Arrow doesn't have the authority to see some of the stuff that Grush is talking about, obviously. That was something that was mentioned by Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, that Arrow only has Title 10 authority, where others, organizations in the Pentagon, other agencies within the Pentagon have Title 50 authority, which they do not have. But again, is he playing semantics here? I mean, is he just basing his comments on what Arrow has brought forward, like it seems like the Defense Department has been doing in recent months? They always say, well, Arrow has not come up with anything yet. Yeah, but Arrow's the one investigating this, and what we're trying to say here is that there's a secret program within the Pentagon buried somewhere that has been studying this and keeping the lid on this and keeping all this information away from the public and others and elected officials for decades and decades and decades. That's what we're saying. So Arrow just was formed, and I don't know. I guess you wonder, is it a game of semantics, or is he just, you know, no one in the Pentagon, not even the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, is made aware of anything relating to the alien presence here on this planet. Is that what he's saying? I have trouble believing that, because I know that there's something here, because I saw these things with my own eyes. I saw one of the beings, and I saw a craft as well as all these other people. I know I say this just about every time, but it needs to be said all the time, because these people keep on lying, and I know that they're lying because I've seen it with my own eyes, as has tens of thousands, if not millions of other people, right, up close and personal. So they're lying. So basically, is the Pentagon trying to say that, well, yeah, we don't know nothing about this? Oh, I know that if you don't know anything about it, then we are in giant trouble, because there's something here, dude. There's really something here, General. I'm not kidding you. And neither are all these other people that have seen these things. But anyway, I digress. Let's continue with this article. It says General Milley's remarks about UAP sightings highlight the changing public attitude toward the phenomena in recent years. Previously dismissed in some quarters as nonsense straight out of a bad science fiction novel, UFO encounters now are legitimate topics of discussion inside the Pentagon, on Capitol Hill, in the media, and in the scientific community. Let's continue here. He also says the government acknowledges that many such sightings cannot be explained. It talks about how there was a report released in January that examined 366 sightings, including a stunning 247 UAP incidents from March 2021 to August 2022. Of those, 171 lacked any clear explanation. Of course, Milley says that there is a lot of unexplained aerial phenomena out there, and they've got pilot reports. There's various other sensors out there, and some of it is difficult to explain. Most of it actually, they can explain away by a variety of things, like balloons, for example. The whole Chinese balloon thing comes to mind, said General Milley, referring to a suspected Chinese spy balloon that flew over the U.S. earlier this year. As we all know, I'll stop there for a second, that was shot down and was basically used by the Pentagon and the mainstream media as, oh, see, it's just a Chinese spy balloon, you dummies. That's all it ever is. It's never, I mean, that's all it was. See, that explains everything, doesn't it? See, you made a mistake. See, there's no such thing as aliens. It's a Chinese spy balloon. We shot it down. No big problem. Anyway, continuing here. It says, they can explain a lot of it, but there is some that's really kind of weird and unexplainable, General Milley said. But I've seen nothing to suggest that we, the United States military or the United States government, has in fact recovered any sort of vehicle that is not man-made or made here on Earth, or that there's any kind of remains. I haven't seen any of that kind of stuff. And then he also goes on to say that Milley would not second-guess Mr. Grush's public testimony, but he did say a lot of people have different perspectives on various issues in an organization as large as the Defense Department. Okay, there's a lot more to this article, but a lot of it's rehash. I won't get into it all, but you see where we are here. We're actually the top general in the United States, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, says he knows nothing of this whatsoever. Is that possible? I guess it is, right? It's either A or B. Either he's lying, which could be the case. I can't imagine how the top official of the entire military in the United States is not made aware of these kind of things, or is he keeping some things out of here? Or is he playing a game of semantics here? Yeah, the UAP office, they showed me nothing. Well, what about other agencies that we don't know about? Maybe did you hear anything from those, General Milley? I'd like to know. Because again, I mean, I feel really unsafe right now when I hear that the top official, the top general in the United States tells me that, oh, I never seen anything like that. Right? When I hear something like that from the top general in the United States, I'm concerned, because if that's true, right? Because I know that there's something here. You're trying to tell me you don't know that, you don't know about these things. Wow, I feel terribly unsafe all of a sudden here. Anyway, I just want to talk about some other things here. Of course, if you resort to the Wilson Davis memos, of course, the Wilson Davis memos, which were released to the public in 2019, there were notes that were written in 2002 by Dr. Eric Davis while he was interviewing Admiral Thomas Wilson, who Wilson at that time was the deputy director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, and he thought he investigated UFOs. He wanted to be brought in on this program, and he was not allowed. He found out that there was some top contractor, defense contractor firm, an aerospace company that was in charge. And that company, those people told him, hey, you have no business. You're not on our list, a bigot list, they call it, a bigot. So I guess they discriminate against certain people. It doesn't matter what your position is in the Pentagon. You're not. You don't have a need to know. So they wouldn't let him in. And he got angry about this. He complained about it to his superiors. And what happens? They tell him, hey, stay away from that. Don't do anything. We'll take a couple of stars off your uniform there, and we'll demote you. That's what he gets told. That's what he gets told. Now, of course, Wilson years later, when confronted about this, said, that's totally false, untrue. But Eric Davis said, I can't comment on that. So who do you believe? I believe that these notes are real. I mean, if the notes were false, then Eric Davis would have said, I had no idea about this either. Instead, he says nothing. He's not going to comment on us. But he did apparently comment in closed doors to some people in Congress. And I believe that's why that's part of the reason why we're seeing people in Congress right now moving forward, pushing this through, because they know what's going on here is that obviously there's some sort of a government within the government here that's controlling all of this. Is it possible, though, that someone like General Milley is just completely oblivious to this? I just can't see it. I mean, he has to know something about these visitors, right? But maybe he is oblivious to the crash retrieval and reverse engineering programs. Maybe he is oblivious to this stuff. I mean, if you look at the Jacques Vallée's recent book, something that Richard Dolan has talked about on his podcast, there was a part in that book where Jacques Vallée determined, basically, from the people he was interviewing, that something happened back in the early 1970s under the Nixon administration, where the program used to be inside the government at one point, the secret control group, but under Nixon it got transferred to a private contractor to secure it. Right, the parts that the managers of this control group wanted to keep secret were handled as proprietary, so they wouldn't be subject to Freedom of Information Act requests. That's why it doesn't, despite John Greenwald of the Black Vault could keep sending his FOIA request till he's like 95 years old, but he's never going to get anything because all the stuff is proprietary now, right? So it doesn't really matter. You're never going to get the really good stuff, right? Any classified papers are subject to review and classification, right? That's within the government. But proprietary data can be kept secret forever, according to Vallée. So that means, is that what's going on here? So really, there's some sort of an agency that started maybe perhaps under Nixon, right? Let's just throw this out here as speculation. So basically, Nixon bifurcated this whole thing and moved it over to some Lockheed Martin, say, for instance, maybe, right? And they've been controlling this the whole time. And they actually have now assembled their own paramilitary teams that if there is a crash, their team goes in, not the military. The Pentagon's completely kept out of this, for the most part, kept in the dark about this, so they could, when questioned about it, they could deny it and it will be plausible because they really don't know. Because of these top secret directives that were established years and years ago, 50 plus years ago under Nixon. Is that what's going on? Could be. I don't know. I mean, because we know that there's a cover-up. Anybody knows that there's a cover-up. I mean, listen to, for instance, Jesse Marcel, the late Jesse Marcel, who back in the late 70s, early 80s, made it very clear that, he was the top intelligence official back at the Roswell Army Airfield Base back in 1947 when something crashed there. And he made it clear that this was definitely not a balloon. Here, just listen to what he had to say.
You couldn't even bend it. You couldn't dead it. Even with a sledgehammer would bounce off it. So I knew that I had never seen anything like that before. And as of now, I don't know what it was. It was not anything from this earth that I'm quite sure of. Because being an intelligence officer, I was familiar with just about all materials used in aircraft and air travel. This is nothing like that. It could not be. It could not have been.
So there you have that, right? That guy wasn't lying. I mean, he was obviously telling the truth. I mean, this has been going on for over 70 years now, right? There's no question about it. I mean, that guy wasn't lying. And then how about Robert Sawbacher, okay? The story of him and Wilbert Smith, a Canadian official with the Canada's Department of Transport. I'm going to read a little piece here from How Stuff Works. I'll leave this link so you can check it out for yourself. It says here, a remarkable interview occurred in Washington, D.C. on September 15th, 1950, but the content did not leak out until the early 1980s. When Canadian ufologist Arthur Bray found a memo by one of the participants, radio engineer Wilbert B. Smith of Canada's Department of Transport. The memo described a conversation with physicist Robert I. Sawbacher, a consultant with the United States Department of Defense Research and Development Board, or RDB. At one of the regular meetings Sawbacher and other government scientists conducted with their Canadian counterparts. Asked about the crash rumors, Sawbacher said they were substantially correct. He said UFOs exist. We have not been able to duplicate their performance. All we know is we didn't make them, and it's pretty certain they didn't originate on Earth. The issue was so sensitive that it is classified 2 points higher even than the H-bomb. In fact, it is the most highly classified subject in the United States government at the present time. Sawbacher refused to say more. Smith, who died in 1961, mounted a small, short-lived UFO investigation, Project Magnet, for his government. Through official channels, he tried unsuccessfully to learn more than Sawbacher's cryptic remarks had revealed. After the memo surfaced, ufologists found a listing for Sawbacher and Who's Who in America, citing his impressive scientific, business, and educational credentials. When interviewed, Sawbacher said he had not personally participated in the UFO project, though he knew those who had, including RDB head Vannevar Bush, John von Neumann, and J. Robert Oppenheimer, three of America's top scientists in the 1940s and 50s. He had read documents related to the project and, on occasion, had been invited to participate in Air Force briefings. There were reports that instruments of people operating these machines were also of very light weight, sufficient to withstand the tremendous deceleration and acceleration associated with their machinery, Sawbacher said in 1983. I remember in talking with some of the people at the office that I got the impression these aliens were constructed like certain insects we have observed on Earth, wherein because of the low mass, the inertial forces involved in operating of these instruments would be quite low. I still do not know why the high order of classification has been given and why the denial of the existence of these devices. Sawbacher could not recall where the crashes had taken place, but he did remember hearing of extremely light and very tough materials recovered from them. And Sawbacher's story never varied, and he resisted the temptation to elaborate or speculate. All who interviewed him were impressed. Still, his story could not be verified since the persons he named were all dead. Sawbacher himself died in the summer of 1986. So again, there's additional evidence that there has been a program going on in the background, studying these things, reverse engineering these things. Of course, if you read the Wilson Davis notes, I mean, they weren't getting anywhere at the time. This was in the late 90s when Wilson, late 90s, early 2000s, when Wilson was trying to get read in on this program, and he just couldn't do it. But some of the stuff that he did learn was that they really weren't getting anywhere with the reverse engineering of these things. Okay. In fact, he was told that it wasn't a weapons program. It was not an intelligence program, not any special ops or logistics program. And it was. He was told that it was a reverse engineering program from something that was recovered years ago in the past. And they told him right out that it was not of this earth. It was not made by man, not by human hands. So that's what he was told in that. When he was trying to get to the bottom of this. But then again, everything came crashing to a conclusion when he was told by his superiors that, hey, you got to let this go or else you're in big trouble. And it was let go. And now he denies it, but of course I don't believe him. I believe that these notes are real, as do a lot of researchers. And I believe that there is a program going on. But I guess the question that I have here, I can't imagine that the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff is not made aware of this. But I guess it's possible, considering what happened with Admiral Wilson. It doesn't make any sense. The military, the Pentagon, has to have some sort of plans in place in the event of some sort of an invasion from these things, right? They would have to have some information. But what it seems to be is that there is a secret government working within the government, and that's what we need to crack open already. Apparently it is comprised mostly of civilians, people from the military-industrial complex. That seems to be who the people are in charge. And you have to wonder, like, when something happens, if the Pentagon is telling the truth, I guess this is what I'm trying to get at here. If the Pentagon is telling the truth, does that mean they are, when something crashes and it doesn't fall under their purview and it falls under the purview of this secret control group, does the secret control group have its own people to go out and handle crash sites, cordon it off, and they have their own officials that paramilitary groups that are there? I mean, how is this working? Or is the Pentagon, I'm wondering here, is the Pentagon completely not allowed to go near this stuff? I mean, the top military organization within this country is not allowed to have anything to do with it. It has to go to this other secret group that nobody knows about, that's not on paper anywhere. That's my question. I wonder. I wonder a lot about this. I guess to me it's funny. It's just funny that we're still, I mean, they keep doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down, Googleplexing down. The Pentagon just keeps coming out and saying things. Oh, no, we don't know anything about this. No, we don't know anything about this. No, we don't know anything about this. They keep saying it like a broken record over and over and over and over again. They've had so many chances to finally come clean, but obviously they're not allowed to do that right now. Milley's not allowed. I guess maybe who's telling him he's not allowed? I mean, who's in control of this? It's obviously not even the top general in the United States is apparently not in control of this. It's somebody else, right? Not even the people we elect. If you look at those Wilson Davis notes, it says that presidents aren't they have no say in this. No elected officials have any say in this. It's completely on its own, completely removed from our government. Like there's somehow this was allowed by somebody somehow in the past. I don't know how it's continuing. And that's why we have what's going on right now. That's why we have people in our Congress right now who obviously have seen more than you and I have seen, and I'm sure that it was some eye-opening things that they have seen behind closed doors, and I'm sure that some of them are convinced now that, yeah, oh my God, this is true. This is true. A lot of us knew for a long time there was something going on, some sort of a control group in the background, keeping the lid on this, right? Doing everything they can to make sure this secret doesn't come out, and do whatever they can for the people that do have convincing evidence. Let's just say they're crazy, or we'll make them look stupid. We'll send out our. Isn't it funny too? You have this past week, you have the Ministry of Defense in the UK saying something similar. Now you have this. Right, you had William Shatner, the star of the Captain Kirk on Star Trek, going on News Nation and making comments saying that the whole David Grush hearing was nonsense. It's starting to feel like maybe it's all part of something bigger, right? I mean, William Shatner, who in the past had made different kinds of statements, like some people have pointed out to me, when he was on CNN, he thought it was very mysterious and that there were things going on. But now he's saying, "Oh, that's totally ridiculous, absolutely absurd." So you wonder what's going on here. Like there's an effort, obviously, right in front of it, happening right now, right, to tamp this down, to put the toothpaste back into the tube, right? That's what it seems like to me. Like I don't know if we're ever going to get to the bottom of this the way things are. I mean, because how the only way I think, right, you're going to have somebody from the inside actually somehow go in there and actually bring something out with them. And I don't know if that's possible. You have to imagine that wherever these facilities are, where craft are stored or bodies are stored, how you ever going the security must be immense. I mean, it would take a group of people, not just one person. Probably wouldn't be able to do it himself. It would take a group of people to get this stuff out of there, which is somehow now deemed proprietary somehow, like it's almost like it's like a company figured out a way to make stuff coming in from outer space, from other planets, from other civilizations, to make it their own. Like they made a deal. That's what it feels like. They made a deal with our government sometime in the past to basically put their trademark on it, and nobody else is allowed to know about it. How is this possible? How is it possible? But it seems like that's what's happening here. Again, how could the Joint Chiefs of Staff chairman not know anything about this? I have trouble believing that. He might not be aware of maybe he's not read in on certain aspects of it, but if he doesn't know that there's an extraterrestrial presence here on this planet, then we are in giant trouble. I feel totally unsafe now with those stupid comments that he just made, because I know that they're here. Right, he's talking to the people out there who are completely oblivious to this reality, obviously, because people who don't care about this or don't believe in it, right? Though, the top general said he doesn't know anything about it, so I guess we don't have nothing to worry about. Well, what about the people who do know stuff about this, right? Who know for a fact, who've come face to face with these creatures? What about those people? What about the people who saw these craft up close and personal, or pilots that have come up close and personal with these craft while they're out doing their training missions? What about those people? It's disgusting. We're so sick of this cover-up, and I'm so sick of the lie. Again, I don't know. Is he lying? I guess that's the question. I'm going to put that in my Spotify poll today. Is General Milley lying, or is he or is he just not read in on this? Right? Is one or the other? I don't know. It's one or the other. I can't say. I guess would be a third option. Maybe, perhaps. I guess that leaves us to the wild speculation then. I always, because we're not given answers, then we're just left to use our imaginations. Is it possible maybe that the extraterrestrials have infiltrated our government, at least in part, And they're the ones controlling pulling the strings behind the scenes. They're the ones behind the secret control group. Is it perhaps possible that maybe the Uberts, as talked about by somebody like David M. Jacobs, have they infiltrated parts of our government and are keeping information away from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff? Because I have trouble believing that. Anybody would have trouble believing that, especially people who know for a fact that there's something here. I mean, what I wonder what Robert Salas is thinking when he hears something like this. Robert Salas, who was there at the Malmstrom incident when the UFO showed up and shut down all the nuclear weapons back in '67 in Montana. I wonder what he thinks about something when he hears something like this. I mean, you have to feel pretty unsafe, right? But then again, maybe there is that third option. Maybe it's extraterrestrials are doing this. They're the ones responsible, and now that's what we got to worry about. I mean, we don't even know who's controlling our damn country right now. I mean, really, because they keep not giving us the right answers, they keep giving us lies and nonsense like this, or sending out even when our top general doesn't know the answers. When that makes me wonder. When the top general doesn't have an answer, when he says something like this, he's not aware of this? How could our top general not be aware of this? Wouldn't it be better if he said nothing? It probably would have been. I mean, if he's going to say something like this, because I'm concerned now as someone who knows for a fact that there's something here, right? I'm very concerned. Because if he's telling the truth, if you don't know anything about this, then what the hell's, you mean you've never been studying this and you don't know anything? You're the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and you don't know anything? Oh my God. Time to panic, everyone. Panic. Anyway, that's my feelings on it. I'm just, part of that is joking, okay? But I'm being facetious. But yeah, I can't believe it. I just don't believe it. It's hard to believe, but I guess it is possible. It is possible, based on what happened to Admiral Wilson. Maybe Wilson will tell the truth. Maybe Congress needs to have, if they do have this select committee like they've been talking about in the House, this House Select Committee, right? It's bipartisan effort to get certain people to come forward. Why don't they bring Admiral Wilson up there and see what he says under oath? Put him under oath and see what he says. Maybe would be interesting if he doesn't answer certain questions, then that might be an admission, basically, wouldn't it? Maybe that's what should happen here. Get some of these people who are playing hardball, who don't want to give us the answers that we've been waiting for. Well, it's time to start playing hard. Congress needs to play hardball with some of these people. That's what needs to happen. I'm sure that there's been names getting dropped behind the closed doors, and I'm sure that there's probably some people are right now, some Congress members, like people like Tim Burchett and the other people, that bipartisan group that seems interested in this, are probably rubbing their hands together right now. Let's get this guy in here. Let's see what he says. That's what they should be doing. That's how they should be handling this. Right? Get not only people who are willing to blow the whistle, but get people who are unwilling to talk. Get those, drag those people in there. Subpoena them in this, because that's what a select committee could do. Subpoena these people. Let's get to the bottom of this. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Until next time.